Hey guys, this is Brad from Blue Nile Farm. Welcome to the channel. You know, this video is going to be talking about the K building and what it's all about and why I'm actually going with the K building. You know, I used to have a coverall indoor riding arena, which was 62 wide, 140 foot long, about 35 foot tall, and I had 10-foot walls that were tongue and groove, and they were cemented into the ground. And after 20 years, that barn actually collapsed, and I have other videos on that subject. So if you're interested in seeing that, you know, please feel free. And I did a little bit of searching. I didn't want to go back to post frame buildings, and I hate concrete around posts because they rot out and they just snap. So I'm not a fan of that. So I decided to go with a building called a K building, and a K building is, you can consider as a hybrid. And because I'm going to have a dirt floor, it's going to be concreted pillars, and then it's going to have they're going to be mounted to a steel leg and steel frame. And that's what's behind me as far as the frame goes, which would be the truss and the leg. And then the purlins and the girts would be all wood. And that's basically why they call it a hybrid building. And I feel that because the posts are not going to be in the ground, these are going to be a lot more sturdy. And they're locally sold by me because I live a county below me. They sell these K buildings. That's kind of why I'm going with them. And the price is right. And that's the other thing that's encouraging. And I want an Amish crew that probably put up most of these K buildings in the area. So I know they're very knowledgeable, and I don't have to worry about somebody just trying to figure out how to do it properly. They know exactly what they're doing. They know how to do it right. And that's important to me. So I'm looking forward to this. Now the K building itself, this building is going to be 60 wide, 135 foot long, and 16 tall. And that's a little bit different than what I had before, but I don't really need as much height. And what's nice about a K building, which is a little different from a wood truss, is that they don't have the bottom rafters. You know, it's straight up steel all the way up to the peak. So I'm still going to have a big airy room once we get inside. And my doors are going to be 16 foot tall and 16 foot wide, so I can get my machinery in there and whatever else I need. But this is going to be designed as an indoor arena because we're actually going to put another K building up possibly this year, maybe next year. I'm hoping this year, and that's going to be mostly my machinery, barn, and hay storage. Where this barn, I want to kind of, once it goes up, you know, will be machinery, but it will go back to an indoor riding arena. That's the plan. Then we're going to reface the entire property. All the buildings are going to get refaced and give it a nice fresh look and make it look nice. So hopefully you guys can kind of stick along on the journey, and I'm going to take you through the process of building a K building as they come in and they work, and I'm going to kind of walk you through what they do and how they do it. So hopefully this will be very entertaining for you to learn what it takes to actually put up a K building, and if you're interested, it might be something you might want to pursue. What I like about it, like I said before, you have the steel legs and steel trusses, and I really like that a lot. It's a very quick, easy construction. It's fast. And third, you're not having your post exposed to the ground where you have potential for rot in that building to fall. You know, after losing a building, it really set me back a lot. It cost me a lot, it set me back a lot, it affected my hay business. Basically, it just shocked the farm. And the amount of time that I had with the waste, cleaning up, trying to grade, rebuild, it's very frustrating, and it really just sets you way back. And I really have no words for it. So anybody that's lost a building understands what I'm going through. And those that haven't, I'm telling you, put the best building you can up and really do some homework. You know, back 20 years ago, I was all enticed by the natural lighting and the open and airiness to it. But realistically, you know, I always thought the tarp would give out. But what we did was we had 4 to 5 foot of snow, and it weighed heavy on the frame, and it came down. And that was the end of that. So when I put this K building up, it's going to have, like I told you, the steel, the K building design, which is basically the legs and the trusses and wood purlins and girts. And then we're going to also add some natural light into the building, and we're also going to have it outside steel. And we're also going to have a vapor barrier that's going to be put inside that building as well. So again, this is, I think, a really nice building. You can design it any way you want, and there's a lot to it. They're made by Elgin out of northwestern Ohio, and they're known as the K building. And so if you're interested, look into these. But again, follow me on this journey, and I'm going to show you how it is to get one built and take it step by step as it goes up. So stay tuned. So on day one, which is August 6, 2025, Adam Miller and his crew came out and they squared the building up. The old building, like I said, was 62 by 140. This building's 60 by 135. So I'm losing 2 feet off the width and I'm losing 5 foot off the length. And I don't think that's that much of a big deal. So I'm pretty satisfied with my size for this building. So after they squared it, they marked the holes that they're going to drill. On the wall that's getting the 3-foot holes, they're put 15 foot on center. That's the width. And each hole is going to be, like I said, 3 foot in diameter. So it's going to take approximately 1 yard of concrete per hole. And once they started drilling, another Amishman was basically putting up the boards that you see behind me, and those are going to be relatively permanent. So I'm going to kind of walk you through the process of what they did on day one, and then we'll roll into day two. So here's a quick shot of my skid steer, Adam Miller and his crew just drilling one little hole, and that was the first hole that they made, just to kind of show you what it takes to run a 3-foot auger, how easily it works, and I couldn't ask for any better. And my ground here is very clean. There's no rocks in it or any debris, so it's relatively very simple to use, and it made a big difference. You know, the one thing he did tell me as I putting up these buildings is a lot of times you go to rental places to rent bits, you know, to drill these holes. A lot of times they're so beat that they don't work, especially like a 3-footer. And so I wound up investing $1,500 on a 3-foot bit because I'm basically putting up 2 buildings. I think it's going to give me a return on investment. Plus I can always use it for something else, maybe down the road. And I decided it's worth the investment. So instead of renting it, I bought it, and I definitely made a big difference. So something to consider when you do a building like this or you're doing any kind of hole. You know, sometimes rental places and their bits are so beat that they're not going to be efficient for you, and it's probably better just to invest in your own. So, food for thought. But anyway, let me show you that drill bit in action and that skid steer run by Adam Miller and his crew putting in the first hole so you get an idea of what they're doing. So now that you kind of have an idea how each individual hole is being put in using the skid steer and the postal digger, let me show you what they're doing in addition to that to create a pillar for the barn site. So what they're doing is making these boxes. And this box is on top of a 3-foot hole. And they have this hole totally cleaned out. So what's going to happen is that'll be filled with concrete, and the concrete will go all the way up into the box. And then after it hardens, they'll take the outside of this box out, and they'll leave the 2x10 or 2x12 all the way around the outside of the building. And that'll stay, but the pillars will be in place. And these are the pillars that are going to connect the legs and the trusses. So they're all set up the way they should be. So that's pretty much what they did all day, is drill holes, create these boxes, and tomorrow the truck will come and they'll start filling it up full of concrete, and we'll go from there. So the front and back of the building are designed a little bit differently. They're not really supporting really too much. They're basically supporting their own weight. So he used my 18-inch auger, because ideally he'd rather have a 2-foot, but I had an 18-inch. So he used the 18-inch auger for the corners of the building as well as the front face. About 10 foot on center, give or take, and they're drilled in and boxed in just like the sides, and they take about a quarter yard of concrete per hole. And because they're just weight bearing, they're not really much for support. They're just going to hold the front of the building as well as the back of the building. And that's pretty much it. So those are the holes that are actually put into this building, and that's their design. So from there, we're going to show you what they did on day 2. But for day 1, pretty much they ran completely all the boards all the way around the perimeter, and they had the holes all dug, ready to go. Now their depth as far as the holes are about 40 inches below the frost line is really their key. And other than that, they just pretty much whipped this out pretty fast. So almost all the holes, probably 95% of the holes were done on day 1, and the framing was pretty much done on day 1. A little bit carryover on day 2, but that was okay. They basically had to wait for the concrete trucks that were coming at noon to start bringing in concrete, and I think there was like 2.5 to 3 trucks that actually came in actually at least 3 trucks came in and filled everything that they needed to get done. So, my cost was probably around $4,500 in concrete that was actually used in the construction of these pillars. Just to give you an idea on the cost factor too. I don't honestly know what it was per yard, but that was the gross total that I was told, and that's what I wrote a check for. So just to give you an idea. So the only major thing I had to do on day 1 was the fact is this opening is our walkway into the building. And we're going to expand this and redesign the whole configuration. It's generally 10 foot wide, because when I built my barn, I had my posts set 5 foot on center as far as the horse barn goes. And we're going to extend it to 30 foot. This one used to lean, and it really kept a lot of moisture and started to rot the wood. This one's going to be peaked, and it's going to give me more room to kind of store horse bedding or whatever in between the 2 buildings. So I'm kind of looking forward to that and completely redesigning it. I also have French drain that runs across down the center between the barns from previously, and they want to blacken it with the drill, so I'm going to have to kind of tie in the pipe again because they kind of split in half on 2 spots. So I'll fix that up before they get started again, and that's it. But the biggest problem they had was from the previous barn, the frame here, they had a pillar that was encased in concrete at least 2 foot, so I had to bring the excavator in and kind of tear down part of this. And where this box was hitting actually the concrete pillar. So I had to dig that out, dig a hole, put the hole back in, compress it back down for them to re-drill it and to set the box that they have in there now so they could fill it with concrete. So that was the one thing I was glad I was home for, because that was easy. It took me probably not even 15-20 minutes to knock that out for them, and it made life a little bit easier. So that was the big moment for me on day 1. So day 2 is pretty simple. They just brought these trucks in and they poured concrete, and they just finished up framing everything, make sure everything's locked in place. And this is an example of where they just poured concrete in around inside the pole. Then they wound up pouring it into the box, and they take a trowel and they leveled all this off really nice, and they set 2 bolts sticking out of the ground, and those bolts are going to be what's going to be hooking into our legs of our truss. So all they had to do now is set up. So they had a couple other jobs they had to do. So they left here, and they're going to come back, and when they come back, they're going to actually start to erect the frame. Wood's going to be dropped off, and they're going to run the purlins and girts and really frame this thing in. And they told me it's going to take about 2 to 3 weeks to finish this building. So we'll see how long it takes, and like I said, I'm going to walk you through it. But all the concrete's in place, all the bolts are set, the whole perimeter is done. They also did between the doors, because there's 2 sliding doors, in the middle they dropped and drilled a hole, filled it with concrete, and that's going to be some kind of bracing for the doors so they don't flap with the wind. So that's made too. So everything's done the way it should be, and I'm just going to wait for them to come and get started. So thanks for watching. I wanted to kind of give you an update. This is a posterity type video for myself as well, so I can reflect back on what was done and how it was built. And they put their mark on middle concrete pillar and the date, so obviously it's clear that they did the construction. So Other than that, stay tuned for the next video, and I'm going to take you step by step through the building and the construction. So if you're interested, like I said, in the K building, you're going to see what it takes to build one and if it's something for you. This is one of those buildings that I actually did price around. I did look around. This was the best and the most efficient building in my area, and I kind of like to buy local, so I kind of got lucky in that stance. Plus my crew's local too. So, but I'm sure that may be something similar to this in your area, and maybe it's something of your interest. So check it out, follow my channel, and see if you are interested in possibly putting up a cave building. Maybe it's something you're interested in. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you guys soon.